Hi everyone, you're watching Nom Talk Network. My name is Jordyn, and this is Fans Cooking Fiction. So today's adventure will be taking us into Middle Earth, where I will be teaching us how to make Lembas bread or Elvish Waybread. With this bread, I do like to go into a little bit of the lore and where J.R.R. Tolkien might have got some inspirations from in real life. You may see references to Lembas bread or Elvish Waybread in Lord of the Rings when Sam and Frodo are on their trip to Mordor. It is wrapped in leaves and preserved that way. It is said that J.R.R. Tolkien took some inspiration from some real-life situations. Since J.R.R. Tolkien was a devout Catholic, the bread that is given to you in Catholic Mass was an inspiration for him, and that's considered the body of Christ. The second inspiration was when sailors were on long journeys across the ocean, they would often have to eat something in order to survive the long journey. This was bread that was only made with flour and water, and it often got really hard, but it didn't spoil as often. And so these are some of the inspirations that J.R.R. Tolkien used in order to make Lembas bread in The Lord of the Rings. So now what we're going to do is combine up the flour and then our water, butter. I don't know about you, but I really love butter. Put in our salt and our baking powder. And then last but not least, our honey. And then what we're gonna do is just slowly combine. It's easier to make this recipe with a spoon. You can use a mixer or anything that helps to kind of like dough all the ingredients together or mix them all together. And then it's gonna start to turn into this little thing here. I'm gonna use my hands only because I like to just feel the dough out. Now keep in mind, as you make, bread can be fickle sometimes, so you might need to add more or less water depending on how well it blends together. Now what we're gonna do here is spread some flour around the board because I'm gonna start kneading my bread. But why you need the bread is so it releases the gluten and that allows it to fluff up and get sort of the tastes and all of that. You're gonna knead for about 10 to 15 minutes, but if you wanna throw on some tunes, if you wanna, listen to some Lord of the Rings soundtrack, I always love listening to it. You'll start to feel that it's gonna start to get kind of drier, and that's okay as long as it remains stretchy, and as long as you can go ahead and roll it around the cutting board. Okay, so after about 10 to 15 minutes of kneading, your wonderful piece of dough should look like this. It's okay if it doesn't. I kind of like to say that it feels like Play-Doh. If it feels like Play-Doh where it's not too sticky and it's not too crumbly and hard, then you're okay. And put just a little bit of olive oil at the bottom of a bowl. And then you're gonna go ahead and throw the dough in here. And then what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna want to let the dough rise for about an hour. This can be something that can be used with a damp cloth and just kind of let it sit over there for about an hour. Okay, so now that we've let our dough risen, we're gonna wanna go ahead and remove the cloth. So our dough's gonna look nice and risen and it's gonna feel a little bit less Play-Doh-y and a little bit more smooth. We're gonna want to flour our cutting board again. And this time what we're gonna do is we're going to roll out the dough. I would use like a medium or a large size roller. And we're just gonna wanna start rolling our dough out. Again, you're gonna want that nice square. I would actually do a rectangle. Now, one of the things you want to remember is depending on how you roll out the dough and depending on how big you want your Lembas bread pieces to be is going to make all the difference, okay? So as you can see, it's not exactly a rectangle, but I've sort of cut the edges to kind of give it a little bit more of a square look to it or a rectangular look to it. So I'm going to probably cut nice size pieces. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So once you have your squares like this, what you're gonna do is you're gonna go ahead and start to cut, not all the way through, but just a line. You're still gonna want them attached, but it's easier to break. We're gonna go ahead and preheat our oven to 425 degrees. So I have my pieces all set on a baking sheet. I did a little bit of EVOO spray all over the baking sheet just so that the bread doesn't stick to it. And as you can see, some of them are a little bit wonky, but that's okay. The idea comes out sort of the same. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna pop these in our oven for about 10 minutes, depending on the thickness. I usually put it in there for 8 because I don't like them to get too crispy and too burnt. So as you can see, they look a little light. Some of them look a little bit more cooked than others, that's okay. But if you feel them and they feel puffed out and they feel like bread, then it means they're done. And you're gonna have a nice little sort of like crispy on the top, but sort of bready softness on the inside. And there you have it, folks, Lembas bread. Now, what I like to do with this sort of stuff is you can eat it plain, and that's fine, just to kind of satiate some hunger. But I also have come up with a couple of ways that you can kind of give it some flavor. Now, the first is to add some cottage cheese and some jam on top of this. It makes a really great pastry in the morning. Another way you could eat this in the evening is with some nice hot cocoa, or if you're thinking of getting it just as a snack, some hummus would be really good with this as well. It is just a simple type of bread, so you're gonna wanna spice it up if you kind of wanna eat it as a meal option. Another possible way to make this sort of cute is if you wanna give it away as some gifts, you can go ahead and get some banana leaves and wrap it up and put a little bit of string on it to kind of tie it like they do in Lord of the Rings. Thank you for joining us here at Nom Talk Network. Please like and subscribe, and definitely put some comments in to see what other things you would like to see me make. And I hope your Lembas bread comes out as tasty as mine. Delicious.